Hey guys, welcome back to Rock Guitar Vibes. Have you ever thought about a battery-powered pedalboard? Today we check out if it's possible to use a regular power bank to power up your pedalboard and what needs to be considered. And we are looking at a special power supply that might just solve a lot of your pedalboard headaches. Let's start with this power bank that I got from Amazon for around 16 bucks. It offers 28,500 milliampere hours at 5 volt. So the first issue we run into is the power conversion, because all our guitar pedals require 9 volt or more. So the first problem solver I have is the Engel PowerTap Portable. This thing is a DC-DC step-up converter which is able to convert 5 volt to 9 volts at a max of 800 milliampere. Even if it has two outputs, these outputs are not isolated from each other. Please keep this in mind. Next, we need a daisy chain cable to connect all pedals on my pedalboard. I use this one from Rockboard. Of course, you can use any other daisy chain cable as well. On this pedalboard, only one pedal is analog. It's the chuck distortion, which can also be used as a preamp. All other pedals are digital. So here's the point. Whenever you hear daisy chain together with digital pedal, an internal alarm in your head should loudly ring, because not all digital pedals work fine in a daisy chain setup. You can find more detailed information in my previous video about digital noise. Okay, now let's see what happens if we power up the pedalboard. All pedals get powered, that's good. However, that noise is not very pleasant. What you hear now is mainly digital noise. If I disconnect the H9 and the canvas tuner, the digital noise is gone. And as we all know from my last video, to fix the issue we have to insert noise filters in front of the noisy pedals. I use the D'Addario noise filter in front of the H9 and the Joyo noise blocker in front of the canvas tuner. As we can hear now, the digital noise is almost gone. In my last video I already mentioned that the Joyo is not as good as the D'Addario noise filter. That's why we can still hear some of the noise, but on a very low level, somewhere in the range of the normal hiss level of the distortion. I think this solution is not perfect but usable, so let's sum up the costs. The power bank is 16 bucks, the Engel PowerTap is 20, the daisy chain cable 8, the Joyo noise blocker 10 and the D'Addario noise filter is 40 bucks. So powering the pedalboard with a power bank for this setup is around 90 to 100 bucks. Now let's calculate how long a fully charged battery lasts. The power bank has 25,800 milliampere hours at 5 volts, which are theoretically 129 watt hours. For power conversion, internal heat and other losses we subtract 20%, so in real life it will be around 100 watt hours. This pedalboard requires 7 watts. If we divide 100 by 7, we got around 14. This means the pedalboard should run around 14 hours without recharging. Not that bad, I would say. But unfortunately, I can't test it. But personally, I wouldn't be surprised if the battery life under real-world conditions is less than 10 hours. And here's the reason why I can't test it. As already mentioned, the Engel power converter supports 800 milliamperes max. After measuring the exact power, I found out that this pedalboard requires 860 milliamperes minimum when running and over 1000 milliampere on startup. That's too much for the power converter. As a result of the overload, the voltage breaks down after around 10 to 15 minutes. Simply watch this short clip. The power converter is not broken, but it got too hot, and after cooling down it worked great again. However, for being reliable for this pedalboard, I would have to use at least 2 of these angle power converters, which would increase the total costs to $120. Daddario also offers a complete set including powerbank, cable, power converter, but without the noise filter for $220. With one noise filter it would be $260. That's a lot, and the powerbank itself looks pretty similar to the one we used in our DIY project. I've also measured how much power the noise filters take. It's 80 to 90 milliampere per filter, so keep this in mind when planning your next pedalboard. Or consider to use the third solution. It's the new Harley Benton PowerPlant ISO-LI09. It's compact, affordable, has 8 isolated outputs, 1 high power output and a built-in battery. The PowerPlant offers 5 outputs with 300 milliamperes, 3 outputs with 500 milliamperes and 1 special output with up to 2000 milliamperes. 2 of the outputs can also be switched from 9 to 12 or 18 volts. So let's try out that high power output by replacing the power bank including power converter with the power plant. Well, this works fine, and because the Harley Benton PowerPlant has enough isolated outputs, there's no need to use our power filters any longer. So let's remove these and connect each pedal to one output. The Eventide H9 has inverted polarity, so a polarity adapter cable is required. And this is not delivered with the power plant. I already had that adapter, it's the one with the red plug. However, I also have to use another adapter cable because the H9 has a 2.5 mm power jack. Some older pedals have these special jacks that don't allow you to use a regular power cable. That's the cable with the green plug, and it's included with the power plant together with 6 other power cables with a length of 60 centimeters and 3 power cables with a length of 30 centimeters. Let's now compare the noise of both solutions. This is the power bank with the noise filters. And this is the power plant when connected to the single high power output. And this is the Harley Benton power plant with each pedal connected separately and without our power filters. As you could hear, the last setup works best because each pedal has its own noise filter within the power supply. So it is double isolated to each other pedal. And if I would engage the noise gate on the chuck pedal, both solutions would be totally silent. Now let's take a closer look at the specs. The Powerplant battery has 72 watt-hours. If I subtract 20% for heat and losses, it's 57 watt-hours. The pedalboard takes 7 watts. By dividing 57 by 7, the pedalboard should theoretically run 8 hours. However, in a real-world test it turned out that it runs only 6 hours, which is 25% less than expected. I also found out that the Powerplant takes 4 hours for complete charging. And for charging, this external power supply has to be used. And during charging, the power supply can get hot if the Powerplant is turned on. I would therefore recommend leaving the power off while charging. What I also haven't mentioned is that the Powerplant has an USB-C port on the front panel for powering USB devices with up to 18 watts. That's pretty handy. What I really love is the high power output, which offers up to 2000 milliamperes at 9 volts. Here you can connect high power devices like the HX Stomp or the Quad Cortex. Even if this output is not isolated, it shouldn't cause an issue because all other outputs are isolated. This means it's still single isolated to each other pedal, which is connected to an isolated output. Let's give it a try. For this I'm using my HX Stomp, which requires 900 milliamperes when running. First let's try a daisy chain setup on the high power output so you can hear the digital noise of the HX Stomp. As soon as the HX Stomp is disconnected, the digital noise is gone. Next, only the HX Stomp is connected to the high power output. All other pedals remain in the daisy chain setup. As you can hear, it works great as expected. Another solution would be to use a current doubler cable on 2 isolated outputs to sum up the current, with the disadvantage that one more output is used for the HX Stomp. The casing is metal, it feels pretty solid, it has a battery level indicator and a power switch on top. What I'm missing is a mounting kit. The Powerplant has a height of 35 millimeters. That's the same height as some pedalboards from Pedal Train and Harley Benton have, which means the Powerplant has to be mounted on top of these flat pedalboards, which is a bit disappointing. So who's this for? If you are gigging, traveling or want a quiet mains-free setup, this thing delivers. For the price you get flexibility, isolation and battery freedom. You can use your whole pedalboard without plugging into the wall, super useful for busking stage setups or avoiding noisy power. This setup is totally isolated from the mains, so no chance for ground loops or dirty power to creep in. So could this be the best budget power supply for pedalboards in 2025? Well, I think it's pretty hard to beat, and it's the clear winner over a DIY Powerbank Solution. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. All gear has been purchased with my own money and I'm not getting paid for making this video. I don't make a living from YouTube, so I'm free to create whatever content I enjoy and I can say exactly what I think. No fluff. Here's one more important point. When editing the video, I've noticed that I said that I've used the Joyo noise blocker. That's not correct. What I've used is the Joyo power converter as a noise filter. Joyo offers two products, the noise blocker called ZGP and the Joyo power converter called ZGPW. However, the noise blocker does not work for some pedals like the canvas tuner. Let me demonstrate what happens if you do it anyway. For some reason it does not work. Now let's do the same with the power converter. As you can see, this works well, means the power converter can also be used as a noise filter. This was the intended usage for this and my previous video about digital noise. Unfortunately, I always wrongly named the used device noise blocker, but the noise blocker is another device. That one that does not work. Please keep this in mind and sorry for the confusion. If you enjoyed this video or have any questions, simply drop a comment below. Until next time, thanks for watching and please keep your signal clean and your tone dirty.